Good morning to everyone and welcome to this session. As we know that it's our third day and the final day of ARI Virtual Convention 2020. In last 2 days, we heard from different departments like immigration, universities, along with the university reps. Now, let's discuss with our ARI members about the market trends and dilemmas. So, ARI, welcome to our all prestigious members, senior ARI colleagues who have spent a decade in this industry. So I would like to start with the Gulshan ji, who's representing the North India market very much. So Gulshan ji, actually there's the one first question for you. How did COVID-19 affect the overseas market in the North India? Gulshan ji.
Well, Rupesh and my senior colleagues, I think it's not hidden from anyone what COVID has done, because it has not spared any class or any sector. You take agriculture, or you take industry, or you take service class. Northern India or South India, I think it has damaged every sector and every region. But you're asking me Northern India, so I'll focus on Northern India. And if you take Northern India, I think Punjab dominate the market, because Haryana and Himachal, the part of the Punjab, only in 67 they were given status, and other areas also have the very similar conditions. And I think even if you pick up the UP and other areas, the majority of the students are Punjabi speaker or the settled there from Punjab. So Punjab dominate the market. And if you take Punjab, we have agriculture, we have industry, and we have service class. So agriculture has also been damaged. Industry has been damaged very badly, because you can't expect industry, closed for 3 months or 4 months, and then start working immediately. Similarly, service class, which is a large private sector. And I think one of the thriving industry, if you look at what's the immigration industry, which I think many surveys have shown it was more than 60,000 crores, which has been damaged very badly. In Punjab, there were 5,000 IELTS centers, which are at the verge of collapse, because they have not been open for the last 5 months, or from the day the lockdown started. It has affected the capabilities of the parents to pay the fees. So the effect is going to stay for a longer time that most of us are expecting. It's not going to disappear the moment we have the vaccine or we have the medicine. It's not going to happen that, because it takes a very little time to destroy anything, but it takes time to build. So it is going to be there. But the only positive thing is that I heard all the Australian government representatives, the High Commissioner, the Trade Commissioner, the Education, and other stakeholders, and all of them are very optimistic. Similarly, on this end of the Northern India or Punjab, the students are also very optimistic. And your survey has also shown that the moment we know the vaccine or the medicine or the international borders are open, I think we will move towards rebuilding this industry again, but it will take some time. It's not going to happen within a short span.
Absolutely right, Gulshan ji. Thank you so much. I just want to, there's the next question for Mr. Sushil ji. Sushil ji, you operate with multiple offices in India and Australia. Still, what do you think that still Australia is a favorite destination for Indian students, and when compared to that Canada or UK?
So when we use the word favorite, I want to be clear that it has always been amongst the favorites, and it will continue to be a favorite. But when we're talking about rank position 1, 2, or 3, definite rankings, last year Australia was sharing position 1, 2 with Canada. In fact, the research showed that Canada was the #1 choice and Australia was #2. This year, the trends and data showed that it was Australia had slipped to position 3 because of the new policies that came in of post-study work with Brexit. And therefore, it is, I would say for the current year, the numbers were anyway predicted to be at number 3. Australia does have a great unique offering which none of the other countries have, which is a excellent quality of education, a degree program with post-study and immigration options. So it, as long as it maintains this and the government keeps an optimistic outlook, giving options to students that they're welcome with open arms, it can maintain the position. But the present scenario with the way the delays has happened in the decision making, it is tough for us to close students. We're trying to, have them start online, and but with this delay in decisions or procrastination about when borders will open, it is tough to hold on to the students. So if we do not make some quick moves, we'll lose even that position.
Thank you so much.
Rupesh.
Thank you. So, Vinodji, actually, as Mr. Sushil told us, he was discussing about the online studies, and you also operate in the multiple markets. And what do you think that students are still interested in studying online? And what's your views?
Thank you, Rupesh. First of all, congratulations to ERI for having this, conducting this successful event. We have discussed with our branches in different states, and we have discussed with many parents, students, and we have done a lot of surveys. But the outcome of this is almost same. Most of the students are interested to study overseas when they plan to go there. And the outcome of this is like online students study is very, very nominal numbers of students who are keen to go for online studies. This is what we have gathered, because everybody wants to have exposure. They want to have a face-to-face classes to be attended there. Very small portion of students who are agreed to join online, but would like to later continue their studies as go to overseas and attend classes. But in last month, I mean a few weeks back or last month, after the post-study work recognition given by the Australian government, and particularly about the Australia, since the time Department of Home Affairs has resumed processing visa applications and start giving visa, we have seen little bit of momentum, and we have seen little bit of positivity coming in the market for online study to be adopted. But the numbers are not that high, is still very low if you compare with the normal face-to-face classes. What interesting is from hearing after this announcement that the students are basically applying, but more or less they are interested to go there in 2021. They're hoping that the borders are going to open in 2021, either in Jan-Feb intake or later on. But there are certain students, I'm saying it's very less numbers who are happy to join online classes, but they are happy that they have a visa approval in hand, and later on they are expecting that the classes are going to be there later on at the end of the once they're finishing online courses. This is what we have gathered from our survey and the branches. So currently also numbers are not that very big, Rupesh.
Thank you so much. Thanks. So next question is for Mr. Vijay. Vijay, actually, you're also operating in the Hyderabad and Vijayawada regions. So what do you think that Hyderabad and Vijayawada regions are very popular in student enrollments after Punjab and mainly a PG market? What is the impact of the COVID-19 there?
Thanks, Rupesh. Good morning to everyone. My colleagues and friends, Vinod ji and Gulshan ji and Sushil has already said about impacts about the COVID and across India. Because most of the points is same across the globe, actually across India. But when coming to Andhra Pradesh and the Telangana market, really it damaged very high, because these are known for technical education. This number of engineering colleges across these two states, more than 3 lakh students pass out every year. So really, its impact is very high in these two markets. majority of the students, they are not interested to, study online rather than that they want to go on campus. They want to have a face-to-face study over there. Though even UK has, opened the borders, and the visa relaxation is more because there is no IELTS requirement for UK, and students are choosing as their destination to study over there. They have even announced 2 years PSW. Because of this, also region has impacted a lot actually. Though we got clarity on PSW, but it's still we are getting difficulty to generate the leads for Australia. The only thing is, the biggest weapon is to boost this market is the only weapon is the borders has to be open. That's the only thing, because students still, they are interested to go there, and they don't mind to stay there for 14 days quarantine. If possible, university, if they are going to pay the expenses, that's fine. Or else the UK has said that, students needs to pay it. So students are paying themselves. Here also students are ready to pay the expenses if they have a quarantine time. So the borders has to be open. And moreover, what we seeing is, because the final year examination, bachelor examinations, the government has not conducted till now. Because of this also, students have postponed their plans. So these are the major impacts on our two regions where students are not showing much interest. Though we got under 12th results, but government has not released the memos also. Because of that also, students are postponing the studies. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next question is from Mr. Mahesh, actually, who's our Ari colleague from Nepal. And we are talking about the COVID-19 effect. I just want to hear from Mr. Mahesh as well, the COVID-19 effect there in the Nepal market.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I'm delighted to join this panel of senior colleagues of mine. So Nepal is a very unique market, and it has got its own complication and some benefits as well. So I don't think I need to explain about the impact of COVID-19 in all of these sectors. It is no different than Indian regions and cities. So focusing on the study abroad market, what we have been facing is it's not only about the willingness to travel, it's also about the domestic education that is stuck. So the 12th grade examinations are not conducted yet. So the students are still waiting when their examination will be there. And also the restriction in the flights are still there. And the travel restriction from one place to another inside Nepal has also impacted a lot. So it's a nexus of problem that we are actually forced to encounter. So in this context, if we compare the interest of the student, as the survey also showed, more than 63% of the students are willing to continue their studies abroad, not online, of course. So there are only few students, they are willing to study online just to maintain their study continuation. So the problem is, we are in the dilemma, we are in the limbo, how the situation will unfold. And particularly in Nepal, the cases are increasing, but we are again in the lockdown phase 2. So I hope the government is trying hard to contain the virus and the spread and manage all the situation as well. So right now it's a big question. I mean, will the student be able to even join the next year intake or not? So it's a kind of very suffocating situation right now.
Thanks, Mahesh. I think actually we all have discussed about this COVID-19 impact and about the online studies. So I think everyone has the same system that most of the students they are interested to study in the face-to-face instead of this online studies. So this next question is for Robert. Robert, what do you think that is Australian education is peer-driven market, and is peer is the only option for selling Australia in India?
Thank you, Rupesh, and thanks to Ari and the team for this wonderful event. I've been in this industry for close to 28 years, and I believe Australia has 4 major selling points, which has a major impact in attracting Indian students. Number one, Australia is one of the first countries to accept the Indian 3-year bachelor's degree. And as a result, we've got a lot of our commerce, arts, and science students who still find Australia as a very, very attractive destination. Number two, there's the second advantage, a big attracting positive factor to sell is the fact that students can work in Australia part-time, on campus and off campus. That's been a major selling point as well. The third factor is definitely the post-study work, very attractive. And it's something which universities promote, something which we as agents promote as well. The fourth, and what I consider one of the most important factors, and what the ARIES survey just revealed, majority of students from India and most other international destinations are looking at permanent residence or migration as one of the key factors to select Australia. When we talk of permanent residence or migration, it's often overthought about, too much of confusion in that terminology, and there's a tendency for Australian institutions and perhaps parts of the government to downplay this factor. We've spoken to a lot of students as to why exactly permanent residence or migration is a major attraction. And, you know, I've summarized the reasons into three or four factors. The first reason why students prefer permanent residence is one of the assured ways of getting a return on investment. We all promote Australian education as a good investment of a student's time and money. And students have a right to maximum their return on investment. And getting permanent residence for many students is one of the most assured ways of getting a good return on investment. The second is we are aware that students from Nepal, India, the subcontinent, and many parts of the world take big bank loans, huge bank loans for their education in Australia. In Indian rupees, 40, 50, 60 lakhs sometimes. Now, students have a right. They've mortgaged their family property. They want to pay back this bank loan as soon as possible. And yes, the post-study work is a very, very attractive feature, but many students still don't, or not even in a position to start paying interest while they're on post-study work. And students believe that yes, permanent residence may be one way by which we can get a good return on investment and pay back our parents' education loans. But perhaps the third and the most important factor is students are looking at getting permanent residence for the simple reason that they want to find work in their relevant field. We know, and students are well aware, that most companies in Australia ask for people who are permanent residents or citizens. And international students are really not given a chance to apply for many jobs, even on their post-study work visa where they have got unlimited working rights. So students are looking at options of to how they can get work in their line. They want to get a few years of work experience, and then they want to perhaps go back home. We don't know. You know, we have to understand it's the same department, the Department of Home Affairs, which issues student visas. It's the same department which gives additional points for studying in Australia, additional points for regional education, and it's the same department which, you know, comes up with the skilled occupation lists. We are aware that Australia is a land of immigrants, and students believe the best immigrants are people who have studied in the country, lived in the country, worked in the country. It's a win-win situation for everyone. I would like to conclude, Rupesh, by saying this. When I said at the beginning, migration or permanent residence is overthought about and oversold, only a very small percentage of highly successful international students who are the best and the brightest and who have the highest level of English and whose occupations in demand actually get permanent residence. Majority go back home. And other similar destinations like Canada and New Zealand have done very well and been very successful in promoting the concept of study, work, and settle. And I don't think Australia should shy away from that concept now, because the time is right. We're all being affected by COVID and we need to move on. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks, Robert. Actually, what do you think that, if we'll talk about the competition, so it's come in my mind that in future, there would be the big competition between country to country. If we'll say about there would be the very big competition in between Australia, Canada, UK, and New Zealand. What do you think about this? Can I ask this question about this answer from Mr. Sushil?
So the competition for students is not only from these 4 countries, but I would also say that USA is not out of the race. It has been on a low transition because of the current political scenario, but has always been in the reckoning for students who want to study. So if you're talking about students who want to study, they are yet premier choice. The post-study work does obviously play a big role. We've seen that when the UK dropped post-study, it had an impact. When the US has just given a perception of changing post-study, there's a big impact. And when Canada simplified post-study, there was a growth. And so did we see that with Australia. So post-study is very, very important, but PR is also important along with academic quality. All these things play, I think, a fairly even weighted option for students, the experience, the quality, the PSW, and the PR. And all countries will keep playing around depending on what skills they need. And in fact, I think continuously the market dynamics will take place every year, every session, institution, our countries will change their policies, and it will always keep dynamically changing. And also source markets might have different relationships with the receiving market and things could have impact. Thanks, Upesh.
So next question is for this Vijayji and this Mr. Mahesh for if we'll talk about the Nepal market. So what we are being an agent, what we are thinking that what kind of the support or the changes required from the Australian government and Australian departments, which will help to continue as Australia is a favorite destination market for the students.
Yes. So as I said before, Nepal is a very unique market, and we cannot actually compare the statistics, the interest of students to the study destination in Nepal and India. Very interestingly, last year we had 63,000 students who were willing to go to the foreign country to study. But out of them, 36,000 had applied to the Minister of Education to get the no objection certificate. So that means more than 57% of the total student population applied for Australia. So, which is very unusual if we compare with India. And the second favorite destination is surprisingly Japan for Nepal. So it's 13% share. So if we see the difference, Australia is far more popular, and students are willing to go to Australia due to so many reasons. So Australia has always been the priority for Nepal, and also Nepal has a very small population of less than 30 million, but we are the 3rd largest source country for Australia. So this also shows Australia has always become the first choice for Nepalese students. So I think this will continue to be there, but still the post-study work introduced in the UK and so many other factors, and even the COVID-19 support to the international student by the Canadian government or any other government out there will also impact it. So what we want to reiterate is to the Australian government, this is the right time that they show the support to the international student community, because it's high time that they give back to the international student community, not only to the students who are already studying there, but also to the students who are stranded here. So Nepal has almost 1,600 students stranded here who could not travel due to the travel restriction. So what I want to say is the pilot is being introduced. So if Nepalese students can also be included in the pilot, if the Australian government can accept that, I think Nepal government will be happy to send those students to Australia. So this way, actually, that can create the positive implication, the positive message in the market as well. So this is the immediate support that we are seeking. Other than that, if you can actually expand the medical, examination support, not only in Kathmandu, but in other provinces as well. And even the VFS office is only in the capital city here. Maybe this time around they can expand it around the region. So this type of support will definitely help Nepal, choose Australia as the favorite study destination in the time to come, even during the COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 as well. Thank you.
So, Mr. Vijay, what's your opinion about all these things?
Well,
The demand required from the Australian government to just promote Australia as a favorite destination market.
well, as I said, because Australia will be the second biggest market in AP and Telangana region, actually. In fact, South India, because US is the #1 destination for students, but Australia remains second biggest destination. So, as I said, most of the students are interested to go there and have their studies face to face rather than online. Actually, the parents also willing to send, and already universities are started giving very good scholarships. In fact, most of the universities coming with 30%, even some universities giving 50%, and some universities already started with giving 100% scholarships also. They should increase more scholarships, and even they should accept the students, because we are accepting only TOEFL, IELTS, and Cambridge PT as an English requirement, but we need to accept even other Duolingo test also for as English requirement, because that is most important, because most of the US universities already started accepting this test. So even Australian universities also should accept. ARIA has already recommended this from their end. And also, as I said, because in fact, they shouldn't increase the fee structure also for at least for another 2 years, because Ravi has really given day one presentation, because he has given a lot of recommendations. In fact, we all support Ravi recommendations. In fact, if they're going to follow or adopt a few recommendations from Ravi's presentation, then definitely the market will be going to boost, and there are always students are interested to go there and study there. Only thing is, as Robert said, even it's like an investment, because abroad education, like for Indian students, it's like investment. They're investing and they expect something after completion of the course, some kind of employment or some kind of returns. So, but online education for me is just buying a car through online without driving, because it's not going to be possible, because it's not going to happen in India market, because I'm in this industry past 25 years. It's big difficult for us to promote online education in India. So at least they should understand and try to open the borders ASAP, so that we can able to send a good number of students. Thank you.
Right, thanks. So my next question is to Gulshan Ji. Gulshan Ji, actually, about it's a Punjab market you were talking about, and what do you think that, how students will, because from the last couple of years, if we'll see for 2 or 3 years, Canada is the favorite destination market for the Punjab students. So because it's in the mind of the students that, Australia is too hard to get permanent residency. So what do you think about that in future? It will put the bad impact to the students that Australia is still it's very hard to get permanent residency as compared to the Canada. So what do you think about all these things?
Rupesh, as you know, I've always been saying that Canada is giving the competition to Australia, and I've been watching all of you. I fully endorse Robert's idea about the PR. The student should give the opportunity to settle in Australia. And Sushilji also endorsed it. And I think Ravi has also mentioned in one of his recommendations that the particular allocation up to 25% should be given to the students. I mean, I can understand Australia has burnt its hands, because at that time when they were, they promoted it, settle and study and settle. At that time, the vast majority of the students were diploma, wet sector. Most of you will remember that. 80 to 90% students who got the PR, they were all diploma holders, hairdressers and cookeries and social work and all that. That's how that it didn't work. But now the scenario is completely changed. Now the majority, the right policy in place in Australia, the majority of the students is the university students. So if they do it, then I think they will be benefited. They will be, able to compete Canada, because that's the one plus point Canada has got, because PR is quite easy, quite attractive. And even after 1 year courses, some courses after 1 year, they get the PR. The second thing is the fees. This has also been, I think recommended by, most of you. And I remember Ravi's recommendation, that's also there. Fees is also a big concern. And particularly this time, when the paying capabilities have been affected very badly. So this is the right time that Australia should think very seriously about reducing the fee and allocating a particular quota for students. Students is the best migrant for Australia, who spend 3 years, 4 years, spend huge money. And I think that's the best time for learning. So they get into the system and they like it and they want to settle down. So Australia, instead of getting students, throwing students out and getting the migrants from outside who have one leg in their own country and one leg in Australia, and after 2-3 years juggling, they go back. So, I mean, they upset their stats also.
Even Gulshan, schools are spending, too many years for the study, and after that the post-study work, and then even they are studying for the permanent residency. And student doesn't know what to do and how they can survive in their life and all these things. So it is going to be hard for the students, and because what I am feeling that earlier it was there was the competition between agent to agent, and then it has, after some time, it has been started in between college to college, then higher education to higher education, and then it was in competition between university to university. But what I am feeling, might be I'm wrong, but I am feeling that in the future is coming, there would be the competition between country to country.
Absolutely correct. You're right. It's a country to country, because a student going to Canada,
because now everything has been passed.
It's a peace of mind that I do it, I get it. But in Australia, that's not there. That's missing part. And that's what I think Robert raised it, and I think Sushilji endorsed it. Ravi has also said so we are all on the same line. I think Australia need to work on that.
Yes, exactly. I just want to have, I'm just interested if Vinodji put some kind of comments on it. Vinodji, what do you say about all these things?
Vinodji.
Yeah, Nishi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Vinod.
Yeah. See, Rupesh, what we are discussing about the support from our institution partners also. Okay. Like I'm agree with everybody, like the tuition fee, when we are talking to students and the parents and requested them, insisting them to join online courses, the fee structure is same, even though there are universities who are offering scholarships or the special discount. But students are keen to have the reduction in fees. They want fees to be reduced, especially for online. And in the next year, like I agree with everybody, like the 2021 and 2021-22, there should not be an increase in the fees to attract students for Australia destination. This is main concern for the students and the parents. They are not ready to pay for the same fee structure in the current scenario of COVID-19. If we insist them to join online, if they have a visa in their hand, and we are sure that once the situation improves and they can be in a position to go there and have face-to-face classes, number one. Secondly, like I'm requesting universities, Rupesh, if they can have some success stories of online, at least we can increase numbers. Some testimonials of those students who are successfully joined online classes. So we can share with our students, we can share with our branches, at least these are the numbers. So that way we can increase our numbers for the students who can opt this option of online studies. Thirdly, we all understand there are financial crises for everybody, not only the institutions, but with the agencies also. Earlier, we used to have events in the hotels and we used to spend a lot of money, but this is very crucial time. the support which we need from universities, if we understand their expenses are also very high. But on the other hand, for these kind of events, they're saving money on travel. We are not coming, staying in the hotels. We are not traveling, and people are not coming in the groups. So what we need from them, if they can participate in our virtual fairs with our agencies, with everybody, at least they can talk on a virtual kind of discussion with the students, and they can talk about the fee structure, they can talk about the scholarship, they can talk about the something, if the reduction of fees, so we can attract more students. This kind of support we need from our institutional partners, is what I think.
Rupesh, I would like to add one thing, because as you asked what kind of support you're expecting from Australia in government or a High Commission. Probably I must say that, regarding the GT, because it's very strict GT requirements for Australia when we compare with countries like UK, Ireland, and Canada, because these countries have standard requirements for visa applications and never find any difficulty in processing the applications. Whereas Australia is very strict checks. Some universities really, the requirements are very high in terms of GT requirements. And because of that, students are losing the interest because, for offer letter, applying for offer letter also, the student needs to face the interview. And after that, there is no, they need to show a lot of funds. And after submitting everything also, there is no guarantee of getting the visa. Even the High Commission going to do the interview and all kind of stuff. So student is losing the interest. And moreover, as you all know that past so many years, we are all doing GT checks and still seeing the refusals from the department on GT grounds. Still the department has not provided exact explanation of refusal of rejection letters, as all these universities agents are doing the thorough checks. But still, we are facing the rejections. I mean, across India, every agent is facing the rejections. If we get the complete rejection on refusal, then we can keep more attention on the future applications with the same kind of profiles, actually, that's what we are expecting. And second thing is, because in this pandemic situation, there are some universities come up with paying semester-wise instead of paying 1 year to commissions and other things. This is also really very difficult to run the show, actually, because, and there are students, if they withdraw, then probably they're cutting our commissions also. So all the, because whereas countries like UK, even student pay first semester fee, they'll upfront, they'll release all the 1 year commission, because as you know that once the student fly from here, we doesn't have any control, because universities also accept the students after doing the thorough GT check. And but they after if the student withdraw from the universities, they'll put the blame on the agent. So we can't control the student sitting from here. It's university responsible. Of course we are. It is our responsibility, but we can't control the student from here. No agent wants to see that the student withdraw from the course. So even they shouldn't cut commissions also, because at clawback, we are losing a lot of commissions. So I'm sure most of my friends agree with that. So future, this GT and the commissions, university side, they need to look commissions, and High Commission need to like GT now.
Thanks, Vijay. So in short, what we are thinking about that Australia has to change too much if they want students in the future. If they have to compete with the rest of the countries, Australia has to be changed a lot. So thank you so much, because we are running for the time and we're just going to close this session. So we're going for the next session. So we would like to thanks to overall participants, and we hope that it was a good discussion. And we came to know the market trends and dilemmas of the current scenario, and our expectation being an agent perspective, the expectations of the agents to the Australian government, Australian department, Australian universities and institutions. If they want students in the coming future, so we have to change a lot. Thank you so much. Thanks for, and over to Nishi for the next session.
Thank you.
Before you go, guys, this is Ravi here. I sat through it, listened to each one of you, could almost feel the pain in some of your voices. I think when you talk about the financial issues, Vinodji, I think it all depends on how long we need to stretch as businesses. We thought it'll be a couple of months, it became 6, then it became 12, and now we don't even know whether it'll be till 22 or it'll be till the end of 2021. So as a company, as all of us, we all have to keep the ship floating, and we are all in it together. it's great to hear that we are all on the same page with regards to what we want from the institutions. But I want to especially thank our ARI Australia members. We've got Robert here, and we've also got Rupesh Duggal, and Gulshan ji, you also have a presence. The kind of support that you have extended to the students onshore in Australia. I mean, not many would know that Australian ARI members, ARI agents onshore in Australia are offering free help to stranded international students who may be wanting to go back to the country or may be facing any issue in extending visas. So Robert, please take this message back to all your members in the Australian chapter. It's a fantastic way to give back to the student community. And this is not just restricted to the students of these agencies, but it's to any ARI recruited student in Australia. So I think that's fantastic. Even if it's a few words on a phone which can help a student, I think it'll help them from getting cheated by students, by other agents who want to exploit this situation. So thank you very much, guys. And Rupesh, you did wonderfully as an anchor, as someone who coordinated. You made sure all the words and everyone got a flow. And so well done. And you're looking very smart, Rupesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Before we close this session, I just want to ask one question that was on the screen, and it is by Mr. Narayan Bajaj from Nepal. Since UK is opening up, and I think Sushil ji, you are a best person to answer this. And since UK is opening up in September 2020, and Australia most likely looks like will open only in July 2021. So do you think most of the postgraduate students will go to UK now from Australia?
So the UK has opened up for students to fly for the present September 2020. So has America. And we already have students who have flown to these destinations. So visas have been granted and students have been traveling. There is a temptation for students to change direction. However, as I said earlier, the complete offering of UK and USA is not the same as Australia. There is PSWs, they have that, but they do not have the PR component. Students will hold on for some time, but they'd like to see, I think, some kind of a positive indication. One very interesting thing about the UK market, when I talk to parents or students and I say, your child can start online. And they say, yeah, but why start online when we can fly? So just the option of having flying, not necessarily all of them will take flying, not all necessary that it all start on the correct date. They might go in October, November, December. So it's just a thought that they can fly and go when they want. But we've seen a very small change so far because it's too quick for students to change the destination. But if this thing goes on for too long, I feel other countries will open up flying. And if Australia doesn't open up the airports, it could have an impact on people changing destination.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Sushilji. Thank you, Ravi, Rupesh, and all the panelists. It was an excellent session with great insights.